question, which is question. I'm going to look at this question, which is question 4 from exercise 3F. So it says the time in minutes to complete 200 games of chess is shown in the table. So we've got our times here between 20 and 30 minutes, and it says the frequency is 36. That means that out of the 200 games, 36 of them took between 20 and 30 minutes to complete. Then 30 to 40 minutes will be 67 of the games, 40 to 50 will be 48, and so on. First of all, question A says, draw a histogram to represent this data. So a histogram is kind of like a bar chart. So what you need to do is you need to draw the time in minutes on the x-axis. It even says x minutes here, and then you need to draw the frequency on the y-axis. So I've done this already. So we've got a piece of square paper down here, and I've marked up frequency on the y-axis, just going up in tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, up to just bigger than the highest frequency. So the highest frequency is 67, so that's why I've gone up to 70. Then my time in minutes starts at 20 and goes up to 90. So I don't need to include 0 if I don't want. I can just go from 20 up to 90 there, and I've labeled time in minutes down here. So what I would need to do next then would be to add the bars on. So my first bar would need to be between 20 and 30 and going up to 36 minutes. Like that. So I just put that there between 20 and 30 and up to 36. Then I would add the next one, which would be between 30 and 40 up to 67, which would be there between 30 and 40 up to 67, and so on, until I've added all the bars on like that. So each one, frequency is here, and then you can see them on the graph there. Okay, so that would be complete my histogram. So the only thing that's different between a histogram and a bar chart is that in the histogram, the bars are meant to be next to each other because the time goes from 20 to 30 and then from 30 to 40, so you just draw them directly next to each other. If it's a bar chart, you're supposed to have a little gap between the bars, but this is a histogram. Okay, so part B. It says find the mean, median, lower quartile, upper quartile, and range, and determine whether there are any outliers. So what I need to do is I need to enter the data into my calculator to work this out. So I need to put the time in minutes into L1, and I need to put the frequency into L2. Now in this case, the time is between 20 and 30, and then 30 and 40. So what I need to do here is I need to put the midpoint of these values. So between 20 and 30, the midpoint will be 25. So I can work that out by doing 20 plus 30, which is 50, and divide 2 will give me 25. When I do this one, it would be 30 plus 40, which is 70, divide 2 is 35. So here's 25, 35, 45, 55, 65, 75, 85 to work out the midpoints. So I'll type those into my calculator into column L1, and then I will type the frequency in L2. So if you're not sure how to do that, what you do is you press Stat, and then you press Enter for the edit, and then you'll see the L1 and the L2. Just move your cursor up to the top of L1 and delete if your column's got data in it already, and then enter the data in. Once you've done that, you press Stat, you press the right button to go to Calc, and then you press Enter because it's on one var stats. Press that, it will say List L1. So because I entered my data, this data here into L1, that's my list. And then my frequency list needs to be L2. So you need to check that. If you need to enter L2, then press this blue second button and press 2 where it says L2. Once you've done that, you can press Enter to calculate, and you should get the stats. So the stats it's given me is X bar, which is 42.45. It's also given me, if I scroll down the page a little way, it's given me min X, which is 25. It's given me Q1, which is 35. I can then press down to get the rest of the display on my screen. It's given me med, which is 35 as well. It's given me Q3, which is 45, and then it's given me max X, which is 85. So that's what the data that your calculator should be showing you. So if you've got the same data as me, then you've done it correctly. All right, so the question actually asks for the mean, which is this one. X bar, that's the mean. So the mean would be 42.5, 42.45, or you could just round it to 42, that would be okay. This, where it says median, is this one med, which is 35. Where it says LQ, that's the lower quartile, which is this one Q1, 35. And then UQ is the upper quartile, Q3, which is 45. So lower quartile is 35, upper quartile is 45. And then it asks for the range. So the range we work out by doing the maximum minus the minimum. So the range is equal to 85 minus 25, which is going to be 60. And then it says determine if there are any outliers. So outliers are data points which are far away from the rest of them. So in order to determine if there are outliers, what you need to do is you need to do 1.5 times the interquartile range, and then look 1.5 times the interquartile range below Q1 and 1.5 times the interquartile range above Q3. If there's any data outside of that range, those count as outliers. So what I said there was 1.5 times the interquartile range. That's what we need to do first. So the interquartile range is between these two quartiles. So the interquartile range is going to be 45 take away 35, which is 10. And then I'm going to times that by 1.5. So that's going to give me 15. Then I need to look for 15 below Q1 and 15 above Q3. And those are my data points. So all of my data lies within those. There's no outliers. Any data which lies outside of that range is considered to be an outlier. So that's going to be 35 minus 15 is 20. So that's the lowest value for any outliers. And 45 plus 15, which is 60. So that's the upper range for any outliers. So the lower range is 20. I can see here that my shortest time is indeed 20. So there's nothing that's outside the range on that end. So there's no outliers on the low end. But on the high end, the range, the maximum value for outliers is 60. So there is data outside of 60. So this 10 here, this 7, this 5, they would all be outliers. So all of these bits of data here are going to be outliers. All right. So everything there, because all of those pieces of data are higher than 60. The reason I got that 60 was 1.5 times the interquartile range, which worked out to be 15, and then 45 plus 15 gave me 60. All of those pieces of data are above 60, so all of those are outliers. Okay, next it says part C. It says given that the quickest time was 26 minutes and the longest time was 84 minutes, draw a box and whisker plot to represent this data. Okay, so we need to do box and whisker plot. So again, I'm going to need to use my squared paper. I'm going to expand my screen a little bit so I can fit them on. Okay, and I'm going to need to do horizontal plot for data, and the lowest data is 26 and the highest data is 84. So I'm going to need to do a scale pretty much the same as that one I did there. So I'm just going to draw again pretty much an exact copy of that line. And I'm going to mark on 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90. All right, and then to do the box and whiskers, I'm going to do the two whiskers are going to be the lowest point, which is 26, and the highest point, which is 84. So I need to mark 26 on my scale, which is going to be here. Like that. Oops, that's a little bit wonky. Let me try that again. Okay, and then I'm going to need to mark on 86, which is here. Or was it 84? It's 84. Let me undo that, try that again. 84, which is there. So that one is my minimum, that one is my maximum. Then my box, for my box needs to be between the lower quartile and the upper quartile, so between 35 and 45. So I'm going to do that by drawing a box. So 35 is going to be here. 45 is going to be there. So my box is like that. I can then draw in the horizontal lines like that and like that. And then the next thing I would need to do would be to draw in my median. My median is 35, so that's actually the same as Q1, so I can't really draw it in there. What I'm just going to do is I'm just going to change the color and then draw it in more or less on top, just to try and indicate it that it's there like that. All right, so that would be my box plot. If you're just doing it, I've just done that other color there just to sort of make it more obvious to you, but you wouldn't have to do that. Just draw the box more or less like that, and that would be acceptable. Okay, so that's my box and whisker plot done. So then it said, Marcus took 45 minutes to complete his game. Comment on whether you think that he should be satisfied with this result. All right, so if we look at 45 on our box plot, 45 is here, which is the upper quartile. All right, so that would mean, if it's the upper quartile, that would mean that 25% of people took longer than him, but 75% of people took less than him, because between the lower or the minimum and the lower quartile is 25%. Between the upper quartile and the maximum, that's 25%. So there's 25% of people here, between here and here. And there's going to be 75% of people between here and here. All right, I could also, if I wanted to, Mark, say that that's 25% as well. It's a bit hard to see. Okay, and between the lower quartile and the upper quartile is 50%. So 50% of the people are here, 25% are here, 25% are here. So you could say that he should be not happy, or that he should be dissatisfied with his performance, I guess, because only 25% of the people were worse than him, or 75% of the people were better than him. Okay. What's his name? Marcus. Okay, so you could say that he's dissatisfied, or alternatively, I guess you could say that his performance of 45 minutes is quite close to the mean. Actually, it's not that far away from the mean, so you could say that he should be satisfied. It doesn't really matter whether you say you're satisfied or not satisfied, just make a comparison which is valid to the data. So you can say that 45 is very close to 42.5, which is true, or you could say that 45 is the upper quartile, so therefore 75% of people are better. It doesn't really matter. So long as you make a valid comment and give a valid reason, then everything will be fine.